Good morning, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving. This is Abundance Book Club Live. I am here this morning with Vicki Rude, and we may have some other contributors join us this morning as well. If you are reading with us, you already know that we are reading Creating Money, Attracting Abundance, that has so much information in it. Today, we are talking about, do you allow yourself to receive money doing what you love? And we touched on this a little bit earlier this week. We're going to dive in deep. So I'm super excited about that because, man, that's a big one, right? We love it so much, but then are we really allowing ourselves to receive money on it? So if you are not subscribed, hit subscribe so you can get these conversations. We have them every morning, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern time. And if you want to be in the book club with us, I'll have the link in the comments to our Facebook group, so you can jump in and join us there as well. Vicki, thanks for jumping in this morning, this Thanksgiving morning.
Oh, thank you for having me, and I'm grateful, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving. All right, let's jump into the book. If you are reading along with us, this what we're reading today is from page 166. Some of you accept money only for doing jobs you don't like. You feel guilty asking for money for your special talents and services. When you do this, you are telling yourself, remember, we're talking to our subconscious constantly, whether we know it or not, we're feeding that subconscious. You're telling yourself that making money is a function of doing what you don't like, and that it is not possible to make a living doing what you enjoy. How many of us have been there?
that little trippy subconscious that we tell ourselves with all these little stories. Ooh.
Yeah. It's like if I'm having fun and it's amazing, then there's like guilt around getting paid for it.
Yeah.
What is that about? So fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a thing. And it's interesting how we want, right? We desire. And I think that, like, when desires come, it's not bad, right? Like, I think there's something good about having a desire, right?
Its desires are so good, but yeah, there's a lot of times where the desire feels like it's, I feel exactly what you're saying. Like, I have a belief around that desire.
Right.
But feeling.
So
Good morning,
this
Holly.
receiving piece. Hi, Holly. This receiving.
Good morning.
I had to practice it, right? Like, I had to first be able to receive from others, and then still, knowing that I do what I do for a living, it was being able to receive money from people. And, it's so funny because when you coach, you have this weird thing going on. If I was selling a product and my friends wanted to buy a product, right? I would be like, great, yeah, totally. And when your friends buy from you as a coach, because you're used to coaching them, right? And it feels good and you're friends with them, and you don't really coach your friends, but right. So there's this weird thing that's around receiving money, and we put these stories around them that are just so silly.
Well, and for me, it's like, okay, if I'm enjoying this, then that is the benefit, right? Like, we do things we enjoy because we enjoy them. We put fun things in a fun category. Like, I go out and I, go shopping, or I go sing, or, people who love dancing, whatever it is that you love, like, we put it in this category of, I'm doing it for fun. And even then we have a hard time giving it to ourselves. So now we're talking about giving ourselves something fun that we enjoy and getting paid for it. I mean, it feels like triple dipping, kind of.
Yeah.
Which is great. Like, it is kind of triple dipping, and let's triple dip. But it feels, there's like this resistance around it. And I think that we all deal with it. And it's why a lot of us end up doing things that we don't like, or thinking that we can only make money doing things that we don't like, or we miss our gifts. I think a lot of times we even miss, like, our gifts because it's so innate for us. It's so fun. We're so naturally good at it that we just think, oh, this isn't special because everybody's good at this. And it's like, no, you're good at that. Like, that's your thing. And I would love to have somebody show up in my life with that gift and make it that easy and pay them, right? So why don't we do that for ourselves? Like, why don't we look at that for ourselves and go, oh, what am I really good at? What do I love doing so much? And be in the practice of receiving, because it's such a practice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like it's something to like and to be intentional about in practice, because it's not going to come natural.
No, and I'll give you like the basic one that I was able to do was just say thank you, right?
Yeah, great
Like
stuff.
instead of, oh, you shouldn't have, like these little things that we say that are just in our subconscious. We don't even realize it, but just saying thank you or I appreciate it, basic practice. I mean, it really, you really have to train your brain to think differently.
Yeah. And I love that you're talking about the baby steps, because as we're allowing ourselves to get paid, as you're, whoever's watching this, whatever your thing is, you're allowing yourself to get paid. It's okay to do it in baby steps. It's okay to say, oh yeah, this is a thing where I get to practice and I'm practicing. So I'm going to practice receiving. And I know that, some people will barter, and you hear people talk about, not bartering. I'm a big fan of, if you're going to exchange services, to still exchange the money, to still say, okay, awesome, I'm going to pay you for your service and you're going to pay me for my service. That way you're in the practice, because we're always in the practice of whatever it is that we're creating, whatever our next level is, we're always practicing.
Well, and I love the way you said that, exchanging the money, right? Because really it's an exchange of energy, right?
Yes.
So it's always about the money is just energy. And I know when I've been in states where I felt very scarce around money, like I've had those moments, everybody has, right? I know at one point I was driving on my way to work and I was like in this scarcity mode and like gripping onto everything as hard as I could grip it, and realized that I'm like, money is everywhere. It's just energy. And the sun was rising as I was on my way to work. And I'm like, it is everywhere. It is as abundant as the sunrise, as abundant as the sunshine that is flowing down right now. It's everywhere. It's just energy, just like sunlight is just energy. So it's like when you're looking at it as an energetic exchange as opposed to a monetary exchange, I feel like it's a little bit easier to swallow maybe, but it's again, it's training your brain to see it in a different light.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I love talking about abundance, is because we understand abundance in those situations, right? Like with the sunlight, with air, with water, with plants, we understand what it feels like to be in abundance. For some reason with money, and it is exactly the same in many ways. I'm not going to go into all the details of the way it's the same, because what I really want to pull forward is exactly what you said, is when we can shift into what we know to be true, whether it's looking at the sunlight, whether it's being with our breath and understanding that everything is in excessive abundance. And if I'm not experiencing it in any area, whether it's love, whether it's health, whether it's finances, whatever it is, then there's something that I'm missing that is causing me not to be in the flow of it. So I love that you bring that forward. Yeah, it's just energy. It's a measurement of energy, right? It's a measurement of that energy exchange.
So good. So good.
Want to see what the next one is?
Yes.
Okay, let's see. It is from page 177. And towards the bottom, you may encounter resistance from people around you as you begin to move in the direction of your aliveness and growth. We've talked a lot in this book about how our path is going to feel like aliveness, and we're growing. So that's what it's referring to as you walk your path towards whatever it is you're here for, whatever it is that your gift is for the world, whether you're creating a business or creating your next level of abundance, whatever that looks like. So you may encounter resistance from the people around you. It is often threatening to people close to you when you choose to grow or change. They fear a loss of your love. Rather than feeling threatened by their resistance, send them extra love and compassion. And I know that we've all experienced this, whether it's starting a business, whether it's doing something different and new, resistance from people, and whether it's direct resistance. I know I've heard women say that their spouses have like given them direct resistance, like, I don't know why you're doing this, I wish you wouldn't do that. Or whether we're receiving subliminal resistance. I know I've experienced that, where there's just something kind of funky in the space that's not being said. And whatever that is, or whatever that energy is around us, we do get to remember that those people, they do love us. And when they see things changing, we get in these rhythms and patterns with people, right?
Yeah.
And when that rhythm and pattern changes, it's almost like, how do I interact in this space? What if I lose this person? So there's a lot of fears that come up for them. And of course, there's already fears in the space for us because we're stepping into something new. So it feels compounding. But when we like allow it to be their fear, it's a lot easier to send the love and to be in a loving space with them and to be understanding of that resistance. What has been you ladies' experiences around that?
Well, what's coming up for me is that how often, so as I've been changing this mindset, right, I didn't realize how many people in my life and how often they say things that are contradicting how I'm trying to live, right? So like, oh, I can't afford that, or that's really expensive, or, oh, I'm not going to give pay $20 for that. Like all these things, and you hear them constantly. And no wonder why it's such a habit, right? But so many people in my life, which is this is very special that you said this exact line for me today, because I get to be with my family today, and just to be loving and compassionate and not judgmental, or not trying to change anybody's mind.
Yeah, it's so good. Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of times as we change our mindset, we change our perspective, and we see things differently, we hear those old patterns in others that we didn't even used to pick up on, because we have a different perspective. We're looking through a different lens.
Yeah.
And I know for me, same, like now I have this new way of seeing it, and I don't like the old way. So there's judgment on the old way of thinking. And so, yeah, sometimes that would be placed on the person saying it, and really allowing ourselves to hold a space of compassion for ourselves, for the way that we used to think, for the person that we were that created whatever results we created, and compassion for people who are still wherever they are on their journey, and knowing that it's perfect.
This is big too, because we're not making anybody wrong with it, right? Like that's the biggest thing, is that it's hard to sit in that space. I know I went to an auction that was a very elite art and jewelry and like a Lamborghini auction. Okay. Once upon a time, a little while back. And I was sitting at this auction going, I know personally at this very moment, I would never be able to afford those things, at least at full retail price, right? I got that. But the person I'm becoming, the person I'm stepping into, is going to sit in this room and own it, right? Like she's going to sit in this room and own this room. And the person that I took with me was not in that mindset, right? Was not at all in that mindset, and kept talking about, oh my God, I can't believe that was that much money and this much money. And I was just like, yeah. And my person I'm becoming is going to sit in here and just be like, yeah, no problem. Mine. No, yes. Bid please. Yes. So, it's tricky though to not get upset with that person with you, because they're not in that mindset, right? Like I just kept wanting to be like, just shut up. Like you don't need to, I'm just like, be quiet. Don't say these things. Like you're killing my vibe here. Here's my brain going, I want to be in the realm of this. And this is where I belong. This is where I get to be. And you're just like killing it. You're tanking it for me.
Well, and what comes up for me in your share is that there are different layers of stepping into wherever our next level is, right? So there's a layer of being in the environment of it when we're not yet there, when we're not yet fully stepping in. There's allowing ourselves to surround ourselves with our next level. Then there's a layer of owning it, even if, the bank account doesn't say, yes, you can buy whatever, even if the choices, like I'm clearly not choosing to buy a Lamborghini, right? To me, that's not an investment that I find valuable, but being in the space of owning the energy of it and knowing that I'm making a powerful choice not to purchase whatever, but I am also in the identity. You're talking about who I am, right? And so the identity of it, and then the full embodiment of it as we step forward into whatever that next level is. Yeah. So powerful. And, loving everybody along the way, letting them be right where they are. And as we step into wherever it is that we're stepping into, allowing ourselves to be the example. And it's really uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable to be around people who, hold a negative space around money. I know a lot of people that can't even talk about money, you can tell, like they get really uncomfortable, and to hold that discomfort with them and be the grounded, clear example of what's possible, no matter what they choose.
Yeah. And I love what you said about being compassionate to our past selves.
Yeah.
Who we were and because I don't know about any of you, but when I'm changing a behavior, I go back and forth, right? Like I'll go back into old behaviors, I can slip right back, and then I realize and I shift, right? So being compassionate to myself, who I was and who I am today and who I'm becoming, that self-compassion is just because normally for me, I'm identifying what they're thinking of me when they're talking about money. And what if I said something about money that was about abundance in a very different way? Then, are they going to judge me for being in this different mindset, right? So being compassionate with just that word compassion is the word for the day for me. I am taking that word and I am carrying it with me because I think it's so important in our world right now, even.
Absolutely.
And interestingly enough, I love how you said that, because the person that I took with me to the auction, for instance, was my old self, right? Like that person was absolutely in the mindset that I lived in prior to that moment. And so they were really reflecting to me, right? They were reflecting to me who I was and who I'm becoming, who I'm stepping into. And it's like, oh my gosh. And so, yes, the compassion gets to be there because they were totally reflecting my previous values.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So good.
And I think too, my experience of when we're not compassionate with who we were in the past and we have judgment on that, my experience of that is I've come from a place of sharing or talking about a topic as if I've always had it figured out, right? Whatever I have figured out in this moment, it's always been that way. And it's just not, and it doesn't serve anyone. It doesn't serve us all in growing into our next level if we can't create a space of compassion for every point along the journey. And it doesn't create a space where we all go together.
Yeah.
And abundance is an abundance when only one person is experiencing it. Abundance truly is everyone. There's so much and more than than all of us could, use up together. True abundance.
Man. So good.
Yeah. Well, what a beautiful topic for Thanksgiving Day. Thank you, ladies, for taking your morning to be with us and to share your experiences and create value together. Appreciate you both being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Of course. Yes. We're going to say goodbye to YouTube. Thank you all for watching. Have an amazing Thanksgiving.